Okay, so let's talk about the Silent Hill 2 movie. Oh my god, dude. Why is Hollywood like this? Dude, these drivers are fucking crazy. What the fuck? We could watch Griffin Gaming's video, guys. We never watch Griffin's videos. Yeah, fuck it, we can watch it. I mean, why not? It's unique just in the sense that it is a blend of a bunch of ideas that don't really work. We could watch Griffin Gaming's video, guys. We never watch Griffin's videos. Someday, future guest of Chudcast. Yeah, fuck it, we can watch it. I mean, why not?
You know what, guys? It's like communism. It's not that Concord failed, it's that true Concord was never actually tried.
We were apart for so long, I thought I'd never feel your fiery embrace again.
You sound ridiculous.
Well, introducing Highguard, which is here to finish the fight that Concord started, and is yet another title in a very long list of games that are from the creators of insert famous franchise of the past that really these people just had minor roles on in the first place, but yet we find ourselves at these crossroads.
Something I've noticed that, again, if I wasn't a lazy ass, I probably would have made a video about. Maybe I'll write it down in my list of videos I'll never make. Hold on. I'm kidding. I will actually make at least a couple of these. I don't know what to call this, so I'm just gonna write for my future memory, the fake veteran dev phenomenon. But the point is, of this video that maybe will someday come out possibly, is how many times that you'll have these random ass studios that spring up out of nowhere that have former blank devs and a cajillion dollars behind them mysteriously, and then they produce dog shit. You know, like Mind's Eye was another one of those, and there's a million of those. The point is, like, and then you get like industry plants, like the lesbian. See, if we had Chudcast today, which we might have Chudcast tomorrow, by the way, it might happen tomorrow instead. I was going to talk about the Lesbian Knight game, right? Where it's like we had Knight's Path as the based game, low fantasy knight, like, you know, looks a lot like Kingdom Come, obviously. But then mysteriously out of nowhere, we get lesbian gross ass knight game that has fucking Jennifer English as a voice in it mysteriously, because she's the gaming version of one of these like satanic cult members or whatever. That just out of nowhere, dunking on the Knight's Path game and like, we love fags is might as well what they should have said. We love ducks. There you go. That's there you go. We got to add more slurs to the counter. So anyway, we'll keep listening to the video. That was just a thought I had.
Once more, where we have another situation where we have a new studio founded by ex-employees of a previous studio that worked on amazing titles. And in this case, we're talking about developers that worked
Ropecat made a great video exactly about this with Back for Blood. Yeah. I do remember that.
on titans of the gaming industry, like Titanfall 1 and 2, Apex Legends, and even in some cases, the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2. Well, does Highguard live up to the amazing pedigree and resume that these people are touting when it comes to the advertising material for this particular game?
There's something about the safe, horny characters. Like, I feel like the chick, like, they're almost sexy. Almost. But they know how to hold back for corporate safe. Like, this chick's the ultimate version. It's like, you could adjust this design by, like, 20% and make it Coomer bait. But as it is right now, it's too corpo-friendly. And then evil bitch is always, like, a fetish character for people. Like, if you have an evil woman in the game, people are going to jerk off to it. It almost doesn't even matter what she looks like.
material for this particular game. And well, go ahead and lock in your nose now by making sure to hit the like button on this video. It's always greatly appreciated, but I don't think anyone could look at me with a straight face and tell me that they had any sort of real expectations for this game whatsoever. From the very first moment it was announced at the Game Awards, it has been met with pure skepticism, and rightfully so, because we have been fooled time and time again by these promises of the newest game from the creators of Destiny, Halo, Call of Duty, whatever other popular franchise we can use in order to fool you into purchasing our new shitty indie title. I mean, that's basically it, bro. The grift is up at this point. We understand that the majority of these people who made these games successful in the first place have either long since retired or are still working on the original game or at the original studio, or maybe even dead at this point, in the case of none other than Vince Zampella, who was the actual mastermind behind Call of Duty Modern Warfare MW2, Titanfall 1 and 2, and of course Apex Legends. You know, RIP to the GOAT. He is one of my personal favorite video game developers of all time. And yeah, this is another one of those instances where we have developers basically riding on someone else's coattails, using the fact that they worked at a studio at a certain time in order to try and drum up hype for a game that is not even remotely similar to the previous titles you knew and loved. That is definitely the case of what we have here with Highguard. And what we are dealing with here when it comes to Highguard is one of the most painfully mediocre and
I think Griffin's getting too close to his mic. I was having this problem recently. Like, I was like this into some of my videos, and I had to back up a little bit because I had forgotten. Sometimes you forget.
soulless shooters that I have personally played in the past decade, because Highguard is exactly what you would get if you took the most popular aspects of the most popular free-to-play shooters, blended them all together into that perfect corporate-approved product, and pushed it out the door as fast as humanly possible. And as a result, there is nothing strikingly unique about Highguard whatsoever. The art style is very reminiscent of games like Fortnite or Valorant, with a slightly more realistic aesthetic to it. The gunplay feels like a mix of...
It's clear that everyone has been chasing like the Overwatch type of shit, but they're not willing to go where they need to go. Overwatch, I don't know if it was an accident or not, but apparently they just found the perfect formula for Coomers. I mean, I don't need to elaborate on that. Everyone knows. But all of the copycats since, they don't. They just don't do it. It's like, I don't know, maybe it's because the game came out right before like the DEI shit went super hardcore, so they kind of like slid by with having like these designs that just get the autistic mind going. I don't know. but all the other copycats refuse to go where they need to go. And listen, if you don't do it, someone else will. How do you think Gacha has swept up billions?
Valorant and Apex Legends. The heroes and abilities are very reminiscent of games like Overwatch, Valorant, Paladins, Marvel Rivals. The looting system comes straight out of Fortnite with a very, very similar rarity structure for weapons as well as armor items. On top of that, you mine crystals as a form of currency, like you would collect resources.
The crystals crash. The crystals crash.
In Fortnite, and on top of that, you have minor base building mechanics that use wall reinforcements and repair kits that you find in chests or purchase at the shops using the crystals that you collect. On top of that, the main game mode and only game mode in the game, keep in mind, is, I would say, some bastard love child of big team battle capture the flag from Halo if it was padded out by 2-minute resource collection phases in between scoring.
And only 3v3, which is the most baffling part. I feel like if they could fit more players into a game, I think half the problems would disappear. It would still not be good, but at least you could see there being an audience for it if there were more players.
And on top of that, I would say a more tactical, limited life mode like competitive in CSGO or the equivalent in Valorant, and of course something like Search and Destroy from Call of Duty. I would say this is probably the most unique aspect of Highguard I can put my finger on when it comes to this particular game. Now, games have had previous modes that are similar to this, like in Battlefront.
Well, it's unique just in the sense that it is a blend of a bunch of ideas that don't really work, you know? Like, it's weird because it's unique because it's not unique. You know, you just blend together a million different game modes and other shooters. You do make something that sort of has its own identity, but that doesn't mean it's good. That's for sure.
For example, as well as if you played it back in the day, a game called Brink, which I'm pretty sure most people have never even fucking heard of. But those games each had a kind of similar mode, but not exactly.
I don't think Griffin's audience is that young. I think people, they might not remember Brink, but it was a big deal when that shit bombed back in the day, because I think they paid for a fuck ton of marketing. I remember that shit. I never played it because I didn't care about multiplayer games as a teenager, but I definitely remember everyone talking about Brink bombing.
Exactly the same thing. So I guess a few points of credit are due there. This is a more unique way to play than I have seen in a lot of other hero shooters, to its credit. Now, this is a 3v3 multiplayer game, which in my opinion is incredibly too small of team sizes, especially considering how large these maps are. But let me lay out basically how a match in this game works, and I'm not going to go into autistic detail. I'm sure plenty of other people have done that, and most people are probably not going to play this game anyway. But anyway,
yeah, I mean, this is literally one case where this is a pump and dump, you know? Like, if people are pumping and dumping the content on this shit even faster than Devin, you know? Like, Devin was slopping shit out at lightning speed, but I think he hated this game so much that even he had to take another day. But, yeah, I've noticed I'm sure there's a long analysis video on fucking every game now, but I don't think there's going to be an audience for that. This is literally just, hey, look at this piece of shit, and then you move on to the next thing.
Basically how it works, it's a 3v3 hero shooter. Each person on your team picks a particular hero. There's 8 to choose from right now, and you can only have one of each per team. So once you spawn, you get 5 reinforcement items. You apply those 5 reinforcement items to different walls spread across your base in order to prepare for a potential attack by the enemy team. The reinforcement process makes it so that only explosives and particular ultimate abilities are able to break through them, preventing enemies from using those as a route to infiltrate your base during the assault phase of the match. So just something to keep in mind, I guess, as you play the game and start to pick up on different patterns of attack. You probably can plan better where best to apply those particular items. But anyway, you have about 30 seconds to a minute to do this until the gates open up and you are able to enter the large exploration zone, let's just call it, which is very, very, very reminiscent of a battle royale map. Luckily, it's nothing as large as something found in like Fortnite or Apex Legends, but it is still massive considering the 3v3 player count in this particular mode. So
yeah, I mean, it's obviously the most baffling part of the game, and why obviously it was not intended to be 3v3. I mean, look at this. You can even just see on the screen, his buddy is over 200 meters away in a map that only has 6 people on it. What? Come on. This is less than half the length of the map at that. So it makes no sense. It just makes no sense. They probably just had to slop this shit out. Like, there was no... I wish I could be in the boardroom for the development of some of these flops. Like, there's no way anyone knows what the fuck they're doing. There's no way. I think the theory that a lot of games are basically being sold to investors instead of customers definitely seems true to a point. Now, I do think on the one hand, some of that feels like a euphemism. Like, by investors, I think a lot of that is literally investors like BlackRock, Vanguard, whatever, like the DEI slop. But the actual, like, video game part, I would not be shocked if a lot of these, like, Nepo baby silver spoon type motherfuckers know nothing about video games and are just like, well, you know, Call of Duty has this stuff, so your game has to have this stuff. When it doesn't make sense. There probably is some of that for sure.
Once you enter the open world, you kind of have about 2 minutes, give or take, in order to go around, collect resources, open chests, mine for crystals, whatever your heart desires, find armor, pick up different consumable items, get additional ammo, and once that 2-minute phase is over, a location is marked on the map for the shield breaker sword, which is what you will need to capture and bring to the enemy base and deposit.
I mean, just this is the type of shit. This is what so much of the gameplay felt like. Is exactly him just dying right here. Where you're just kind of like spray jumping against someone right next to you, and since the time to kill is like 10 years, like that was enough to kill. Look how many bullets that was. Look at that. How is she not dead? How is she not dead? That's like 100 bullets into her arm. She's not dead. Okay.
Capture and bring to the enemy base and deposit into a slot in order to open up the force field protecting your enemy's base. Now, once it's marked on the map, you have a minute to go and convene on that point, and it's only around this time do you actually start to ever encounter enemy players, because up until that point, you will be hard-pressed to even run into your own team during the collection phase, because since all loot is shared, there's really no incentive to run around with other players, and because there's such a low player count, you're realistically never going to actually encounter an enemy player either until everyone starts to convene at the objective, at which point you will grab the sword, pick it up, and whoever is holding the sword is marked on the map, as well as a visible bubble will be displayed so that you can see the person from a distance and where the shield breaker is actually located. And from this point on, you will need to hop on your mount and haul ass as quickly as you can to the enemy base, deposit the shield breaker into their force field, and that begins the siege phase, or I guess raid phase as they call it, of the match, at which point you will need to infiltrate their
This is like a 5-minute long run-on sentence. This is what it feels like. He needs to add chapters to his video so we can get to like the opinion part of this.
for the match to end. What will happen is the shield breaker will return. You will powerful at the store with this, and it's basically rinse and repeat from that point forward. You begin the process basically identically to how I described it before, and this can go on 2 or 3 times over the course of each match. Again, we're talking upwards of 20 to 30 minutes on average in my experience when it comes to these match times, which, trust me, they start to drag out a lot, especially when you're about to lose, and because the way the math works on these particular objectives, you end up with 5 health remaining on your base, which at that point you're just like, come on, can't you guys just blow up the other shield generator so we can get this shit over with at this point instead of having to redo an entire 10-minute phase just to inevitably lose anyway? So that part of it does feel really drawn out and very repetitive at times, because each individual phase is identical to the very first one. So there's not a whole lot of variety here, and I do feel like this particular game mode is going to wear down on people very quickly.
Something I read on V today that seems kind of accurate. I don't know, especially if you're the type of guy who is big on the money laundering scheme, like the conspiracy shit with a lot of modern games, is that before this was shilled at the Game Awards, it was essentially just supposed to be a flop, like whether that's supposed to be a tax write-off or just like they're scamming these DEI companies or whatever. But because Jeff shilled it as like the last big game at the Game Awards, which Jeff claims that they didn't pay the $1 million to have it shown. Like he showed it because it was cool. That's what Jeff Keighley said. Then everyone's eyes was on this dog shit. And so it's getting like 10 times, if not 100 times more attention than it was ever supposed to get. It was supposed to just be dog shit everyone forgot about in a day. Instead, it's like, this is the big giant flop of the week that everyone's shit talking.
Given that even in the same match it starts to feel repetitive, which is not really a great testament to the longevity and enjoyment factor you're going to have while playing this particular game, which, if we're being honest, not too many people are even going to be doing that in the first place if you judge by the concurrent player count drop off on Steam when this game initially launched.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny. I know people just rage bait. It's not my first rodeo. I know people just rage bait on V 24/7, and there's unironic shills on there. But the fact that people were pretending it's a win, that a free-to-play game got 100,000 players day one, it's like, okay, yeah, but did anyone spend any money? The company doesn't make money if people download a game, play one match, and then uninstall, which is exactly what fucking happened. I mean, look at that. That's literally just like you could count the hours there. The drop-off, the massive drop-off is less than 4 hours after the peak. Like, they're just you play one game, you're like, this is the biggest piece of shit ever. Uninstall. That's not a win. There's no fucking universe, so that's a win.
Now, some of my biggest issues with this particular game mode and the game in general, I guess, because that's really all there is to it at this point, is I don't like armor and RNG-based shooters. I don't like being put at a disadvantage because someone got lucky and found a better piece of equipment or got the better gun out of a chest, and I was unable to do so. I don't think that's fun. I don't think it's balanced, and I don't find it enjoyable whatsoever. It is the thing that has prevented me from enjoying the Battle Royale game mode, aside from the massive map size. And well, Highguard has both of those aspects, because there are countless times where I was playing this game over the 4.5 hours I put into it, where it just felt like I was dumping entire magazines into different people and barely even cracking their shield, much less damaging them. And there are other times too where it felt like I died instantly because someone had a legendary sniper rifle that 1 or 2 shotted me, and even though I was emptying gun after gun into them, it never felt like I was actually getting anywhere. So that is a fundamental frustration I have had with Battle Royale game modes across various different IPs, and also it is a shared frustration that I have with Highguard as well, and it's something I really don't like. For a game that gets as competitive as it does, during the raid segments of this game in close quarters combat, it does feel genuinely annoying to empty an entire magazine into a player and it just becomes like a damage sponge. They don't even die from that. You can literally have a situation where you shoot someone for 2 to 3 seconds beforehand and they can turn on you and immediately kill you, just if they have better gear than you at that particular instance, which personally I
didn't even know they had like uniques or whatever. I mean, granted, I think I only played 3 matches with Devin. He was already done. I never even fucking saw this gun. I don't think I saw anyone use this machine gun, but whatever. I don't know.
Personally, I am not a huge fan of, which also leads me to my second biggest issue with this particular game, and that, of course, is the over-reliance on the gear. It kind of forces you into this one particular playstyle where the best effective strategy that I found while playing the game was basically during the resource gathering phase was to completely ignore the chests altogether. Go directly to as many crystals as you can find, break as many of them as you can find, and just go buy the armor and weapons you want from one of the shops that are scattered across the map. I feel like this is a much more effective way to get stuff than actually opening chests, which I think is a fundamental problem with the game itself, because after 1 or 2 collection phases, if you just mine crystals efficiently, you will never run out of money for the rest of the game, and therefore you will never run out of armor, you will never run out of ammo, and you will never be without a great god tier weapon, because the highest rarity items, when they spawn in the chests, are also available to purchase at the shop as well. So this leads to kind of a dilemma where the game's going to get even more repetitive, I feel like, when people start to catch on to that particular pattern. They're just going to memorize where all the crystals spawn.
Well, all 5 people who are still playing by the end of the week. But yeah. Like, yeah, the thing is, like, honestly, that part, while definitely true, is probably irrelevant, you know, if only because no one's going to stick with this game, you know. The actual people who think this gameplay loop is good, that tiny, like, less than 1% of the people who tried the game, are not enough to support the game anyway, financially.
You're going to go right there. Then when the objective spawns, they will go buy their items real quick and then fight over the objective and enter the raid phase, which maybe that's the way it was always supposed to be. I'm not entirely sure, but it does make the entire scavenging portion of the game feel really unnecessary and just makes you do this repetitive, tedious motion of breaking crystal after crystal after crystal in order to get the in-game currency. Now, one of the high points of the game I will give a little credit for is the characters. In contrast to PlayStation's Concord, the characters in this game are not the freak show that we saw previously in Concord.
Well, yeah, they're not a freak show, but they're bland. That's the problem. Like, this is the corporate safe designs. Like, if anything, here's the thing. It depends on how you look at it if that's actually better. Because a freak show can be more memorable. Now, it can't be too repulsive. Like, what's her face? Baz from Concord, the trans black woman. Like, that creature that's too much. Like, that's the bad kind of like memorable bad. but these ones are like so bland you'll forget them in a day. You know, sometimes it's better to be memorable than to just be slop, I guess.
I would say for the most part, the characters are pretty well designed. They are obviously Globo Homo approved. They have all the right skin tones and ethnicities that you would expect from your modern gaming experience, but for the most part, I don't think there's any visually offensive ones like you could see in Concord. There is actually a white male in the game with blonde hair, which was actually genuinely shocking, especially considering that this is coming from the developers of Apex Legends. And well, I would say my personal favorite character I played was Scarlet for reasons.
Wowie zowie. She gonna throw it back? The problem is she just looks like an off-brand, like Assassin's Creed / Prince of Persia type of character. And again, you know, it's not like, never mind. I'm not going to get into this. I shouldn't be talking about this to begin with, but it's clear that midriff is not against corporate policy.
Dude, I wish I could eat sushi off of those abs.
I just can't do it. I can't take this shit no more, man.
On an actual serious note, I did like her ability, which made her like invisible by using her sand powers so that you could escape from enemies. I mean, it doesn't make you invincible or anything like that. You can still take damage, but it does obscure their vision enough to where you can make a speedy escape if you need to. On top of that, she has an ability which can allow her to pass through a particular wall at any given time, which is nice, especially during the raid phases, because it creates unique routes that are only available for a limited time, which the enemy might not be expecting you to take. And her ultimate ability was basically just throwing knives, and it took about 3 throwing knives to kill each enemy. But the unique gimmick of that is every time you did get a kill, it would reset your abilities, including the ultimate. So if you chained kills effectively and just didn't waste your knives, you could, in theory, use them for the entire game as long as you didn't die. So it actually is a pretty cool power set. I did enjoy playing her a lot. And no, not just for the obvious reasons I mentioned earlier, but for a
My thing with this is somewhere between hero shooter abilities and like Rainbow Six tactical abilities for like the building destruction. And it just kind of, again, it feels like stuff that you've already played before. I mean, I guess removing a wall, like literally just temporarily removing a wall like this character does is a little bit too powerful for something like Siege, obviously. But it just I don't know. It's not that interesting to me. Like the throwing knife thing, that's the hunter from Destiny, you know, the fucking there's a million like tag enemy type skills in various shooters like the Black Woman can do. The Mongol guy just like he destroys a wall like Sledge. You know, there's a million like comparisons to like other stuff, and I don't think there's anything wrong with necessarily ripping off of other shit if the game is fun, but it all compiles. This is like the ultimate just like mishmash of ideas game with no vision.
Modern hero shooter from a Western studio. These characters are actually very well done for the most part, so I was actually very pleasantly surprised, especially when you compare this game to Concord, which many people are doing right now. So it is definitely a massive improvement over that, which, you know, maybe isn't the highest bar of praise that you could possibly give out, but still, I don't dislike any of these characters. The most egregious is the Abbyzilla looking one, which even that is really not that big a deal. But I don't really think there's too much else to say about Highguard. I mean, it's pretty much just a compilation of a bunch of better games you've already played. There's really nothing special about this whatsoever, and it really begs the question of why was this made? If you have developers with the pedigree of games like Titanfall, why didn't you create another Titanfall? Why didn't you create that game that you're actually known for, that people liked in the past, that's no longer being provided to the market? Why Why did you create another game in an already oversaturated genre that really nobody was asking for whatsoever? It feels more like a slap in the face over anything else to come out here touting like, we worked on Call of Duty, we worked on Titanfall, we worked on Apex Legends. It's like, okay, that's great, but what the fuck does that have to do with this? This is nothing like any of those. Maybe it's the closest to Apex Legends.
It's just, I think it is exactly what I said. They just want a piece of the Overwatch pie because Overwatch made $1 gazillion a decade ago. And I think a lot of these companies, after a certain point, realize they can't be Fortnite, so they'll be Overwatch. Like, that's easier to be than what Fortnite is. Because Fortnite already exists, so people will just go back to Fortnite. But, like, Overwatch didn't really get a true successor except maybe Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals probably was the only thing that sort of stepped up to the plate, but from what I've seen, again, and not as someone who plays it, so, you know, take it with a grain of salt, but from what I've seen, it hasn't had as much staying power as Overwatch had way back then, but still, Marvel Rivals, I guess, is the only thing that came close.
But even then, it's still just this weird bastardized version of a bunch of different games blend up into one that really has no real reason to draw your attention away from those other games it takes inspiration from. It doesn't do anything.
I hate the way she throws throwing knives, man. That looks so cringe. Like, I'm watching, I'm just like, this looks fucking gay. Would you? Like, come on.
Better than any of the games it borrows ideas from in the first place. It just combines all of them into one place in a way that really nobody was asking for. The 3v3 player count is way too small for this massive map. The game mode, which is the core of the entire game, it is the entire game, feels repetitive inside of one match, much less several. I cannot imagine wanting to play this game for more than 2 or 3 hours at a time, at most maybe once a week. I just really don't know who this game was for. It's like, hey,
isn't that the question I've been asking for 5 years now? Well, yeah, I mean 6 years. My channel, can you believe? I think 2 weeks from now, I'll have made videos for 6 years. In 6 years of making videos. But anyway, that's the question I've asked of so many games over the course of my channel.
Let's use our pedigree. Let's take a bunch of ideas from a bunch of other popular free-to-play games, jumble them all up together, and repackage all of that and call it Highguard. I don't think this game does anything really that well, and I don't think it's worth playing whatsoever. I played about 4.5 hours before I just had to call it quits, man. I just genuinely did not have fun playing this game from start to finish.
Yeah, that's probably about how much Devin played as well.
I gave it a fair shot, much more time in it than most people who reviewed it on Steam, who spent like 10, 15 minutes. Most people in my chat were saying they stopped playing it after a match or two, so I gave it a chance. I played it, I tried out different heroes. I genuinely gave this game a chance, which is probably more than most people who are making videos on this particular game can say, and I can say very safely that this is probably not a game you're going to want to spend much time on, if any time at all. I mean, it's free to play, so you might as well download it and give it a shot if you want to. I just don't really know if it's going to be worth your internet bandwidth or not, but that's just my humble opinion, man. This game is true modern slop to the highest degree. There is nothing special about it. It is a bunch of repackaged ideas in a worse form factor, and in its current state, this is a hard pass for me. If I had to give this a rating, I'm giving this like a 3 out of 10, bro. It's a functional game at its core. It's just not a very good one, and that's what's really important.
That's like, I mean, I guess that's probably, I don't know, what would I give it? I don't know. I'd probably have to play a little more than like the 3 games I played of it, but that feels like chat's rating system to me. I don't know. I guess I'd have to play it more. That's average. Nameless Wallaby, thanks to the $5. Someone threw water on Elon Omar, and they're acting like she was part of a political attack. Okay. I don't remember who that is.